A few weeks ago, I saw this video talking about the best indie games coming in May, and there was this one game on there that stuck out to me. Mullet Madjack. It looked so fun. I loved the art style, I loved the boomer shooter gameplay, but the game kind of went to the back of my mind for a bit and I didn't think about it for a while. Until I saw it come up on Steam. I thought it looked cool, so I bought it, and goddamn is it amazing. A great fun plot, just absolutely spectacular movement, entertaining combat and gunplay, incredible soundtrack, but I have some complaints, but we'll get into that later. I will start off by saying that there is obviously a lot of inspiration here taken from a game called Postforward. Postforward is essentially a roguelike, where there are only 11 levels, hence why it costs like £4.
I'll make that deal. How about you, Udovich? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
And you have this skull in your left hand and a gun in your right hand. The skull has juice in it, and the juice goes down the less times you kill an enemy, but the juice goes up every time you kill an enemy. And essentially, killing enemies gives you more health, but the health is rapidly decreasing. You'll eventually find an exit and get to the next level, and get one of 3 perks, being either a gun upgrade with a different gun like a shotgun, or one of 2 random upgrades. Mullet Madjack has a similar premise, but instead of giving you an epileptic seizure whenever you play the game, it gives you an adrenaline rush. You have a phone in your left hand instead of a skull, and it has 10 seconds on it. Every time you take damage or leave it too long, your health goes down depending on the difficulty. But every time you get a kill, the health goes up a few seconds depending on the difficulty. And there are 7 difficulties in the game, and in the easiest one, there is absolutely no timer, and you can just play the game how you want to play it. In the second easiest difficulty, you have 15 seconds of life, but 3 seconds gained per kill. Then you go up to normal and challenging, where your health is 10 seconds. And for normal mode, you get 2 seconds recovered per kill, but for challenging, you only get 1 second recovered per kill. And then there's hard mode. Now, hard mode, in my opinion, is the only good way to play the game. In hard mode, you, once again, only gain 1 second of health per enemy kill, but that 1 second is only if you get a headshot, which makes it, so much harder, so much more fun. You can get upgrades to, make it so you get health from different enemy places, but I'll get to that later. Another difficulty has been added while editing this video, and that is insane, which basically just makes it so enemies do extra damage on top of double boss damage. And then you got permadeath, which is the same as hard mode, but if you die once, then you have to start from the start. For reference, it has taken me this long to complete the game on hard mode, so yeah, take of that what you will. Now let's talk about the gameplay of this game, which is absolutely amazing, might I add. It feels a bit like Ultra Kill, but instead of playing as a robot in hell, you play as a badass from the 90s, but the 2090s, not the 1990s, with a mullet on his way to save a princess, as well as steal these really nice shoes from this guy who's kidnapped her. In a large building, and you have to massacre robo-billionaires and robots to eventually get to her and save her, and shoot. I personally think the plot of this game is great, and it's all it really needs. It's just a fun, silly, goofy game with a fun story to follow. It doesn't really take itself hugely seriously, which is another reason that it's just so great. Like, for instance, one of the upgrades in this game just makes you say more silly one-liners when you're exploring the world. The art direction of the game is so pleasing to look at too. I personally love the art style of it, looking like this 90s anime cyberpunk neon art style. And it keeps it throughout, which I love. Now this doesn't really sound like Ultra Kill at all, I realise now. Until you play the game, god damn! The movement is absolutely phenomenal and completely suits the boomer shooter genre greatly. With it being a slide that you can turn into a kick to get real experimentative and get environmental kills by kicking the enemies into fans or lava or pits or just poison altogether. Or through a vent that you can get further into the level with. Then there's some melee weapons which restore all 10 to 15 seconds of your health. To get the weapons, you find them on tables and you just have to slide into them. And then you hit the enemy with them. And the animation just feels so crisp, man. I'm telling you right now, go get this game. Then you've got the guns, and each one is, great in its own way. You got the revolver, which you start with, and it just simply shoots enemies, does big damage to the head. And then you got the Uzi, which is just an SMG kind of gun. Shoots very fast, but it has awful recoil. There's also a shotgun, which you can use to be like Doomslayer.
Kick gum and shoot ass.
Big damage in a big area, but it has quite short range. Then there's a railgun, which does big damage, but also comes with a few seconds of cooldown. Then you got 2 katanas, being the ice katana and fire katana, and you can throw both of these using R. There's also a secret weapon that you can unlock in the game, but I won't spoil that here. And there's also a sniper rifle that you can use in this one stage as a little gimmick. Oh, then there's a plasma rifle, which in my opinion is the worst weapon in the game. It's just useless. It's just this heavy LMG type gun, but it pushes you backwards every time you shoot. It is not helpful for a fast-paced boomer shooter. But even though it may be worse, every gun is unique and fun to play with. And this combined with the phenomenally fun movement just makes every single level a joy to play. It just feels like a playground of robot scraps and blood, and it feels amazing. It's so addictive and fun. It's genuinely great. You'll also be happy to know that each weapon can be upgraded, aside from the sniper rifle, of course. For example, with the Uzi, you can get gangster foo and a muzzle on the gun, which gives it much less recoil. But what are the other upgrades that you can get? Well, whilst looking through the Mullet Madjack English manual, which is where you find like most of the lore about the game, like the protagonist being called the contractor or the princess being called the hostage, as well as details on each robot. It also gives you the basics of how to play the game. And before I found this manual, I thought that the 2 random upgrades that you could get for your character were just 2 random upgrades. I didn't think they were categories, but they're actually in 2 different categories. Obviously, number 1 is the gun type or modification, which allows you to choose a gun or upgrade your current one, which is what we've just spoken about. But in the middle is a character skill and advantages upgrade, which doesn't stack, but also makes your life a lot easier by like doing something like slowing the game down when you're in the last 3 seconds of health. The third one is a cumulative modification, and these are basically modifications like increasing 1 extra health so you can get to 11 health instead of 10, more % chance of doing a crit hit, and these can essentially be stacked over time. Do note that after these 10 floors, the upgrades are completely rid of. However, after every 10 floors, you also get a permanent upgrade for your playthrough. This can be either basically adding 1 more level to upgrade to your guns, a refresh of the shop so you can get different stuff if you want, or be able to keep an upgrade of your choice in the next 10 rooms until you die, and then you can pick another upgrade to keep. All the upgrades in the game are given to you by the Peace Corps woman.
Good luck. Welcome to the endless tour.
Who everyone seems to love. I wonder why. She is the one live streaming this to a live audience, and you blow up every 10 seconds because in this universe, the audience lose complete retention after 10 seconds of you doing nothing and not killing anything. And she's essentially the one running this game show. I do have a few complaints about the game, but it's about the levels. Don't get me wrong here, the levels are great, They obviously change throughout the game. They get harder and harder, more like kind of hazards added to the levels, like lava, pits, and things like that. But it's all just the same rooms with different hues. And yes, some levels are added throughout, but aside from that, every 10 levels, the hue just changes a bit, and a few rooms get upgraded, and that's about it, Like maybe they'll add lasers to a room, or they'll just add a new room with lasers in it, or maybe they'll just add poison instead of water, And they're just a few examples of things that they might change. I do kind of wish there was more level variety, to be honest. It's not a massive complaint. I still think the game is genuinely amazing and great, but it's just, I wish that there was a bit more variety. Another thing I would say is about length. And yes, I know that the main draw to the game is it's a speedrun type of game where you can just complete it in 2 to 3 hours and try and beat your time after that. I've spent a long time on my save, but that's because I'm bad at video games. But most people have been seen to complete this game in around 2 to 3 hours. And this seems to be a lot of people's biggest complaints, because if I spent, £16 on this game, which I did, and played it on the easiest difficulty, I could probably complete it in under 2 hours and get a refund. And I know that there's a lot of post-game content which I won't get into because of spoilers and everything, as if I haven't spoiled this game enough. But I just feel like it is the same game when you go back and do the post-game content. A few last things that I feel like I should mention is that the endless mode, which I didn't really mention, which I haven't really tried yet, but I can only imagine could be absolute hell. I went into it at the start and there were loads of enemies that I didn't know what the fuck they were, so I kind of just backed out of that. There are also leaderboards showing each category, like permadeath or endless mode. And the person that's completed permadeath the quickest has apparently completed it in 11 minutes, which I don't know how you do that. You've got to be some sort of god to do that. But overall, I think the game is a great indie title, considering the fact that it was only made by like 3 people. I think it is incredibly, criminally underrated. I think the movement slaps. I think the gameplay slaps. But I do think that it does slightly lack variation and length. 8.5 out of 10. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thank you very much for watching. I just want to say sorry for not uploading midweek this week. I've had exams and I've just had to focus on that, but I'm all done now. So back to twice a week uploading. But yeah, I mean, if you are new here, then, why not like and subscribe? It's completely free, so you might as well. But with that, thank you very much once again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.